The forest had been silent for days. Not the kind of peaceful silence that calmed nerves, but a heavy stillness that made birds forget their songs. Jack Marlowe stepped carefully over the moss-covered roots, brushing aside a thick blue fern. His boots sank lightly into the soft earth. He had been tracking something old, something the scanner called organic heat, ancient anomaly. Most explorers ignored such readings. Jack didn't. He was a deep ranger, trained to walk alone where satellites couldn't see. After Earth joined the Galactic Accord, humans were offered trade routes, tech, and peace. But some corners of the galaxy didn't care about peace. They held secrets. Jack wanted one of those secrets. He didn't expect to find a sleeping myth. His multi-scanner beeped once, then again, louder. Beneath a thick rock outcrop, covered in moss and vines, was a shape. Not a building, not a creature. Something in between. Carefully he approached. His gloves brushed away the moss, revealing faint symbols etched in stone, glowing faintly, as if they had waited years for someone to notice. He stepped back, then forward again. The scanner showed a pulse. Faint, slow, but alive. Jack had uncovered many ruins, but never one that responded to touch. His hand trembled slightly as he reached out. The moment his fingers touched the carved surface, the stone pulsed. A low hum filled the air, and the ground beneath his boots shifted. A cocoon opened with a whisper, not a crack. Inside lay a woman. No, not a woman. An alien female, humanoid but marked by glowing lines across her skin. Her ears were long and curved back, her hair black with streaks of silver. She was wrapped in soft white fur, and her eyes were closed like she was in a deep dream. Jack didn't move. His heart pounded. She wasn't just alive. She was perfect. Too perfect. Her body barely rose and fell with her breath, like time itself had slowed for her. He stepped closer, cautious. Something about her felt sacred, dangerous, beautiful. Her eyes opened. Jack froze. The eyes were not human. Green, glowing faintly, with patterns like forest leaves swirling inside them. She didn't speak, didn't move, just looked at him like he was the one who had been sleeping, not her. Then she blinked slowly, her gaze resting on his face as if memorizing every detail. Jack whispered without thinking, "Who are you?" She didn't answer. But the markings on her skin glowed brighter. The forest suddenly came alive. The trees shook, not with wind but with movement. Creatures stirred in the shadows. Jack grabbed his sidearm, eyes darting around. But the woman lifted one hand slowly, and everything stopped. The silence returned, but it felt different now. Controlled. She sat up, her movements slow and graceful. The fur slid off her shoulders, revealing more of the markings. Tribal, alien, glowing like stars across her arms and collarbone. Jack didn't know what to do. She looked around, then back at him and spoke a single word in a language he had never heard. But somehow, he understood. Chosen. Jack's lips parted, but he couldn't speak. She placed her hand over his heart. Not a threat. A recognition. Something deep in the rocks had awakened with her. And now, whatever she was, she thought he was part of it. The scanner in his hand exploded with light, and then shorted out completely. The mission was no longer about discovery. It was about survival. And he had just woken something that had waited centuries. Not just for air, not just for freedom, but for him. Jack followed her silently through the twisting jungle, unsure whether he was dreaming or already too deep to go back. The alien woman moved with a strange confidence, like she remembered every leaf, every hidden root. Yet he could tell her steps were careful, slow. She was observing everything, like a hunter waking up to a changed world. She had not said another word, only that single word, chosen. Jack had no idea what it meant, but the way she had looked at him made it feel like a title rather than a question. Around them, the forest was alive again. Strange birds with crystal wings watched from above. Bright fungi pulsed softly along, fallen logs. Even the air felt thicker, charged with something he couldn't explain. He had walked uncharted alien worlds before. But this one breathed differently now, like it had noticed her return. Jack wanted to scan her, speak with her, ask questions. But every time he reached for his pack, she gave him a look. Calm, commanding, not angry, just absolute. So he followed. His instincts told him not to break, whatever moment this was. She was leading him somewhere. They came to a waterfall that poured down a cliff of black stone. Beneath it was a pool glowing with soft green light. She stepped into the water fully clothed, dipped her hands, and touched her own face, whispering something in that ancient tongue again. The markings on her body pulsed brighter. Then she turned to him and finally spoke. "You should not be here." Her voice was clear now, gentle, layered, like wind passing through trees. Jack straightened. "I found you. Your signal. Your chamber. It called to me. You carry fire, but not war." She paused. "You are the first." Jack didn't understand. The first what? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked to the edge of the pool and placed her palm on a smooth stone. From it rose a faintly glowing panel. Alien technology. Symbols floated in the air, spinning slowly. She gestured for him to step closer. Jack leaned in. The panel showed constellations, shifting patterns of time. At the center of it all was a circle, and a sleeping figure. Her. Around her were dozens of other sleeping forms, but all were crossed out. Only hers remained active. "The others did not survive?" he asked. She nodded. "They were too early, the galaxy was still cruel." Jack looked at her. "And now?" "Now it is cruel, but curious." She walked past him, her voice softer. "I was meant to wake when the right one touched the seal, the one whose mind burns but does not destroy, a mate, a protector, a bond." Jack felt his chest tighten. "You mean me?" She tilted her head. "You are human. Your kind has changed everything. You burn suns and save children. You destroy, then build again. Your pattern is chaos." He couldn't argue that. But he also couldn't stop watching her eyes. "I am not a queen," she said. "I was never meant to rule. My kind hibernated until the stars aligned, until the war ended, until we found a species that could carry both strength and mercy." "And that's humanity?" Jack asked, half laughing. Her expression didn't change. "You touched the seal. I awoke. That is our law." Jack stepped back, unsure. "I'm just a scout, a ranger. I wasn't looking for this. I don't even know your name." She stepped closer. "Names come after connection. I feel yours already." Before he could speak, a sharp screech echoed through the trees. Birds scattered. The ground shook. Something was coming. She turned toward the sound, her eyes now glowing fully. "They followed your heat. Your ship burned too bright." Jack reached for his sidearm. "Who followed?" She stepped in front of him. "Old machines. My kind left guardians behind. You are not welcome to them." Jack readied his weapon. "Then let's tell them I'm not leaving." For the first time, she smiled. The jungle trembled. Jack could feel it in his bones before he heard the metallic clanking echo through the trees. The alien woman, still unnamed, stepped ahead of him, her long hair moving with the breeze like living strands of night. She raised one hand and the ground beneath them pulsed with a strange green glow. Jack stayed low, weapon drawn. His instincts screamed danger, but he also couldn't take his eyes off her. She wasn't scared. She was preparing. "What are they?" he asked quickly, scanning the trees. "Sentinels," she replied, "made of stone and light, left to protect the sacred grounds." Jack frowned. "Protect them from what?" She turned to face him, calm and steady. "From those not chosen." A sound like cracking thunder burst from the tree line. A towering figure stepped into view, almost 10 feet tall, built from thick black alloy shaped like armor but carved with the same glowing markings she bore. Its eyes glowed red. It saw Jack and charged. Jack fired. The pulse bolt hit its chest and bounced, off like a pebble. He cursed, rolled aside, and dove behind a boulder. The sentinel's heavy step shook the ground. He peeked up, fired again, this time aiming for a joint in its leg. The impact sparked but didn't slow it down. Then she moved. She raised both hands and the air shimmered. The sentinel stopped. Its body froze mid-step like it was struggling against something unseen. Her voice echoed in that ancient musical language. The markings across her skin flared to life, matching the glowing lines on the sentinel. Jack watched in awe as the machine slowly dropped to one knee. She stepped toward it, eyes glowing. Her fingers pressed against its metal head. The light faded from its eyes. It shut down, silent. Breathing hard, Jack stood up. "How did you do that?" "They were not made to destroy," she said. "Only to test. You survived. Barely." Jack wiped sweat from his brow. "You could have said something before it tried to rip me in half." She walked closer, looking at his bruised arm. "Pain proves value." He laughed once. "Great. Love? That kind of lesson." She leaned closer, her fingers hovering over his injury. Her touch didn't hurt. Instead, it tingled, warm and steady. The pain faded quickly. Jack looked at her, eyes narrowing. "You can heal?" She nodded. "When bonded?" He swallowed hard. "Are we bonded?" "Not fully. But the path has begun." Before he could respond, the sentinel behind her dissolved. Not exploded, dissolved, into a fine mist of glowing dust that floated upward and vanished. Jack stared at it. "What is this place?" She looked up at the trees. "My kind called it the womb of stars. It is where we were created, and where we were meant to wait. Wait for us? For you." She turned and began walking deeper into the glowing jungle, her bare feet making no sound. Jack followed, eyes scanning every tree and rock, pulse still racing. Something about the forest felt different now. The light was warmer, the sounds more alive. He realized something then. He wasn't just exploring anymore, he was being tested. She glanced back at him. "More will come, others who sense I've awakened." Jack nodded. "And they won't all be friendly." "No," she said softly. "Some will want to claim me. Others will want to kill you." He walked faster to keep up. "That's encouraging." She didn't smile this time. "Only one may walk beside me." Jack felt the weight of those words settle in his chest. The deeper they went, the more the forest shimmered. He couldn't tell if it was light or something inside him shifting, but he knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just her world anymore. Now it was theirs. Jack had stopped checking his tracker hours ago. It was useless here. The forest's energy, or maybe her presence, scrambled everything digital. His suit's compass spun in circles, his HUD flickered. He had never felt more disconnected from his tech, and yet strangely more alive. The alien woman moved ahead of him like a silent shadow. She hadn't looked back once, but Jack knew she was aware of every step he took. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. The forest seemed to respond to her breath. They passed beneath a massive tree, its trunk as wide as a house, roots coiling through the earth like sleeping snakes. Hanging vines shimmered with bioluminescence, glowing softly in the darkening light. Jack's breath caught as he noticed something hidden beneath the roots, a skeleton. Not human. Its armor was unfamiliar and its skull bore sharp ridges. Beside it, a long spear still crackled with faint blue energy. Jack knelt. "Who was this?" She finally spoke. "A challenger." He looked up. "Challenger to what?" "To me." Jack stood slowly. "I thought only the chosen one could reach you." "Yes. But many believed they were chosen." He understood then. She hadn't simply been sleeping. She had been waiting in silence while others fought, killed, and died, trying to prove they were worthy. "How long were you asleep?" he asked. She paused under the tree's arch. 7 centuries. Jack swallowed. And no one passed? She glanced at the bones. Some passed tests of strength. Others passed tests of mind. But none passed the test of balance. Jack nodded, slowly. Strength and mercy. She looked at him. Like fire that warms but does not burn. They walked on. The jungle thinned. The trees gave way to tall white stone pillars half buried in vines. At the center stood a structure that looked half temple, half machine. Strange runes ran along the walls, and a shallow pool mirrored the sky above. This place felt ancient, sacred. "This is where my people were born," she said softly. "And where our line ends if you fail." Jack frowned. Fail what? She stepped onto the platform at the center. The binding. A glow emerged from beneath the pool. Jack stepped closer, heartbeat rising. "What's the binding?" She didn't answer directly. Instead, she raised her hands and the pool shifted, swirling with images. Jack saw stars moving, worlds collapsing, battles fought in orbit and silence. And in all of them, her kind appeared, only briefly, always retreating, never conquering. "We were not made for war," she said. "We were made to calm it." The visions shifted again. Now Jack saw himself, holding a flare gun, smiling in a photo, standing in front of his scout ship. He saw his memories, his doubts, his scars. He saw himself afraid. Then the pool went still. She turned toward him. "If your heart rejects me, I will sleep again, but the world will darken faster this time. My kind cannot rise twice." Jack stepped onto the platform, the stone warm beneath his boots. "I didn't ask for this, but I didn't walk away either." She nodded once. "Then the binding begins." From the corners of the structure, glowing beams rose. Jack felt his skin tingle. He was being scanned, not his body, but something deeper, his memories, his regrets, his hopes. He felt exposed, but not violated. She stepped closer, her fingers brushing his chest. "If we connect, I will carry your fears. You will carry my past." Jack met her glowing eyes. "I've carried worse." She pressed her forehead to his. The light surged around them, pain hit him like a wave. Not from his body, but from hers. Her memories. 1,000 years of silence. The cold loneliness of endless sleep. The screams of her people as they sealed themselves away. Jack gritted his teeth. He didn't let go. When the light faded, they both staggered. She caught herself first. He dropped to one knee, gasping. She knelt beside him, her voice trembling. "You didn't break." Jack looked up. "Neither did you." She smiled, and this time, it was real. Night fell across the forest, but the darkness was not silent. The ground beneath the temple thrummed gently, like a sleeping heartbeat stirred to life. The binding was complete, and Jack could feel it, not just emotionally, physically. His body was warmer, his reflexes sharper, even his thoughts felt quicker. She sat beside him at the temple's edge, her feet dipped into the glowing water. Her gaze drifted upward to the sky, where stars shimmered like silent watchers. "What happens now?" Jack asked. She didn't answer at first. Her eyes remained fixed above. "Now the others will come." Jack leaned back on his hands. "More sentinels?" "No," she said quietly. "Worse." Jack didn't flinch. "Enemies?" "Rivals." She stood and walked toward the trees. Jack followed her, noting the way the forest opened before her, vines recoiling and flowers blooming along her steps. Whatever had happened between them, it had changed everything. She was no longer waking. She was fully awake now. And Jack wasn't just her rescuer anymore. They returned to the path that led back to the cave where she had first emerged. The stone seal still pulsed faintly. But now, others had come. Hovering just above the forest floor, 3 silver ships stood like open blades, their hulls etched with sharp lines and blood-colored symbols. Alien figures emerged, tall, armored, with glowing visors and curved weapons that hummed low, Jack raised his sidearm, stepping forward. I assume they're not here to offer congratulations. She stepped beside him, calm. They are the unchosen. They came when I did not wake for them. They're not going to like me. No, she said. They've already decided to kill you. The leader of the armored group stepped forward. Its voice was filtered through layers of static, but Jack still caught the malice. The human is unworthy. The seal is corrupted. The ritual must begin again. She didn't flinch. The seal chose. The binding is complete. The alien raised its blade. Then he dies. And so do you. Jack narrowed his eyes. So much for ancient respect. Before the alien could move, Jack fired. His pulse round struck the ground beside its foot. Warning. But they didn't see it that way. The forest erupted. Weapons charged. Light flared. The air was filled with sound and heat. Jack rolled aside, firing as he moved, ducking behind a fallen log. He'd fought in low-grav wars and asteroid raids, but this was personal. She raised her hand, summoning vines from the earth. They whipped forward, snatching one of the attackers mid-leap and slamming him into a tree. Another charged at Jack, with a crackling spear, but Jack ducked low and drove his knife into the gap beneath its armor. One down. Another tried to flank him, but she was already there, spinning in the air, her palm glowing. She struck the rival with a burst of green energy that shattered its helmet and sent him sprawling. Jack grinned through the smoke. Remind me never to make you angry. The last two attackers regrouped, backing toward their ship, but instead of retreating, they activated a beacon. A red flare shot into the sky, visible for miles. They called for reinforcements, Jack said. She nodded. They will come in force. Jack stepped toward her. Then we make our stand. No, she said, placing her hand on his chest. We must reach the core before they do. The core is where the full awakening completes. If they reach it first, they can sever the bond. Jack gritted his teeth. Then lead the way. They ran together into the forest, glowing lights rising around them. The jungle closed behind them like a living wall. Time was no longer on their side. And now, the galaxy knew she was awake. The core was buried deep beneath the forest, hidden by time and nature. Jack had no idea how she knew where to go, but she never hesitated. Her feet moved with purpose. Vines curled away from her path. Even the wind shifted like it was guiding her. Jack moved close behind, his sidearm fully charged. Every sense alert, he could feel it in the air now, a strange humming beneath the soil rising with each step. Whatever the core was, it was ancient and awake. How far? Jack asked, his voice low. She didn't turn. Close, but the forest has turned. It will test us again. Jack didn't get a chance to ask what she meant. The ground beneath them suddenly cracked. Roots exploded upward, forming a wall between them and the path. Sharp thorns grew instantly, hissing with some kind of gas. He stepped back, covering his face. Toxic? She touched the vines and whispered something. The thorns trembled but didn't retreat. It reacts to fear. We move together. No panic. Jack nodded. Right. No pressure. They pushed forward through the wall of twisting plants. Jack kept his eyes on her back, following her movements exactly. The vines whipped at him, but they didn't strike. When his breath steadied, the gas seemed to ease. Finally, they emerged on the other side. Before them stretched a valley, low, wide, and glowing faintly from below. In the center stood a stone ring, rising from the earth, hovering above a deep chasm. Jack stepped forward slowly. This is it? He asked. She nodded. The core. It anchors all memory of my kind. If we bond fully here, nothing can undo it. Not even death. Jack looked at her. And if we fail? They erase us both. He didn't laugh, didn't joke. He just stepped forward. Then we don't fail. As they reached the center of the ring, a pulse of energy shot outward. The wind roared. The sky above the valley shifted color, from blue to violet to deep red. Lights spiraled around them like falling stars. Then came the sound. Ships. Dozens. Jack looked up. The flare had worked. The Unchosen hadn't just called for backup. They had summoned an entire hunting fleet. The sky burned with descending craft. Sleek and violent, she reached for Jack's hand. Her skin glowed brighter than before. There is no turning back. Once we begin, we are seen by every living being linked to the old ways. Good, Jack said. Let them watch. She smiled faintly, then pressed her palm to his chest. The stone ring lit up beneath them, symbols swirling outward. Jack felt it instantly. His blood thickened, his lungs tightened, but his heartbeat stayed calm. Memories that weren't his poured into him. Her memories, her childhood, her training, her loneliness, her centuries in the dark. And then his memories flowed to her. His battles, his laughter, his failures, his hopes. It didn't hurt. It felt right. Above them, the sky split. The first ship landed hard. Armored soldiers poured out, weapons aimed. The leader pointed at Jack. Break the bond or die. She stepped forward, glowing fully now. It's too late. He is me. I am him. The soldiers fired. Jack moved fast. His sidearm hummed with new energy. Not tech. Something else. Something ancient. He fired, and the pulse cut through metal, like light through paper. The enemies scattered. The bond had given him more than memory. It had made him part of her world. Together, they fought. The jungle joined them. Vines struck out like whips. The ground split beneath attackers. The core pulsed with every blow Jack landed. He wasn't just defending her, he was becoming part of something older than any human war, and they were only getting started. Smoke rose over the valley. Burnt metal and shattered stone littered the sacred ground. Jack stood at the edge of the stone ring, his arm trembling, his lungs heavy. His sidearm was nearly drained, and the glowing lines that had appeared on his skin during the bonding pulsed faintly now, slower, weaker, but he was still standing. She walked toward him through the haze, untouched by the dust or blood. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever, not just with energy, but with purpose. There was something different about her now. The core had changed her too. You're hurt, she said softly. Jack shook his head. Not enough to stop. She reached out, her hand on his cheek. A small glow passed from her palm to his skin, and the ache in his chest faded. The core accepted you. You fought beside me, not in front of me. You did not command. You did not beg. You stood. Jack looked at the battlefield behind her. And they didn't expect that. No, she said. They never believed a human would understand our laws. They only saw your strength, not your balance. Jack tried to smile, but his expression stayed serious. There are more coming, aren't there? Yes, she replied. Not just rivals. Entire clans that stayed hidden during my hibernation. Now they believe the bond is false, or stolen. Jack holstered his weapon. Then we prove it's real, she nodded. But we need to go deeper. Deeper? Jack raised an eyebrow. We're standing on your core. This is only the threshold, she said, stepping toward the center. There is a chamber beneath, untouched since the first star of our kind was born. Stone parted under her touch. The platform split and revealed a stairway spiraling down into the earth. Warm light pulsed from below, but it wasn't artificial. It felt alive. Jack followed her in silence, feeling a strange comfort settle into his bones. Each step down felt like moving through time. The walls were etched with images of her people, tall, graceful beings intertwined with the forest, their lives connected to planets, creatures, stars. Then he saw something that made him stop. At the center of a large wall carving was an image of a man. Not a detailed face, but unmistakably human. He stood beside one of her kind, hands joined, energy flowing between them. He turned to her. That's me? It is your shape, she said. But it was carved long before Earth's sun was born. Jack felt the weight of it settle over him like a storm. This isn't just about us, No, she said. It's about what comes after. They reached the bottom. The chamber opened wide, circular and glowing with pale white light. In the center floated a crystal unlike anything Jack had ever seen, half alive, half machine. It pulsed like a heart. "This is the echo," she whispered. "The final voice of my people." Jack stepped closer. "What does it say?" She looked at him with a strange sadness. "It will test us, not with battle, but with truth." The chamber darkened. The echo surged, and suddenly Jack was surrounded by memories, not just hers, not just his, but thousands. Lives of the forgotten. Mistakes, regrets, hopes. It whispered in his mind. "Will you carry all of her, even what she hides?" Jack clenched his jaw. "Yes." "Will you let her see all of you, even what you fear?" "Yes." The light returned. The echo floated down and split in two. One half entered her chest, the other into his. She gasped. Jack staggered. For a moment, everything stood still. Then the chamber shook. Above them, the forest screamed. Ships descended. Armies marched. The final trial had begun. The chamber split with sound and fury. Above ground, the jungle burned. Ships rained fire onto sacred soil. The unchosen had returned, not in small squads, but with a fleet. Entire clans who once failed the bond now marched in armor, chanting, demanding that the union between the human and the awakened one be undone. But deep beneath the core, Jack and the alien woman stood still, eyes locked, chests glowing with the split halves of the echo. Jack could feel her heartbeat, not because he was touching her, but because it now pulsed inside him. Her memories, her pain, her fears, all of it lived in him now, and he knew she felt the same. The chamber trembled. Again, dust rained from above. The ancient temple was breaking. "They will destroy this place," Jack said, his voice calm. She nodded. "That is their goal. To erase the bond before it roots itself beyond their control." Jack looked toward the stairs. "We go up?" "No," she said. "We rise." She raised her arms. The light from her chest surged outward, wrapping around both of them. Jack felt himself lift, not with jets or thrusters, but as if the chamber itself had chosen to carry them. The air shimmered, the stones rearranged, and suddenly they were no longer walking. They were ascending through spirals of living energy. Seconds they stood atop the temple, the sky filled with ships and flame. The unchosen saw them, weapons charged, and then everything stopped. The echo's full glow exploded from Jack's and her bodies, forming a dome of radiant energy around the entire core. The jungle stilled, the sky quieted. Even the flames froze in place. From the echo's light, voices emerged. Not one, thousands. The memories of her people, elders, children, warriors, scholars. They spoke in harmony. The bond is whole. The cycle is complete. Let no war break what the stars have aligned. The unchosen hesitated. One of their leaders shouted in defiance and launched a spear of energy toward the couple. It never reached them. The forest itself rose. Roots snapped upward from the earth like whips catching the spear mid-air. Vines grabbed weapons from enemy hands. Stone walls erupted to protect the temple. The planet had accepted the bond, and now it fought for them. Jack stepped forward, glowing brighter than he ever imagined a human could. "You came to destroy her because you feared her," he said loudly. "But look around. She doesn't need armies. She needed only truth." The alien woman stepped beside him. "You lost not because you were weak, but because you were never willing to share your soul." The unchosen dropped their weapons one by one. The ships in the sky powered down. The jungle exhaled. It was over. The temple began to shift, slowly returning to silence. The echo settled, its job done. Jack turned to her. "So, what now?" She looked up at him, the glow still pulsing beneath her skin. "Now you're part of a legacy that began before stars were born." He laughed softly. "No pressure." She smiled. "Your world will come looking for you, They'll want answers. They'll get them, Jack said, but not all of them. She tilted her head. And if they ask what you found? Jack took her hand. I'll tell them I found what every explorer hopes for. A map? No, he whispered, drawing her closer. A reason? The forest bloomed around them again. The core slept peacefully, the sky clear for the first time in ages. The unchosen left in silence. And Jack, the lone human ranger, remained beside the last daughter of a forgotten race. No longer an explorer, but something far more rare, a mate chosen by destiny.